What's good, everyone? If there are 4 things I love in this world, they are medical malpractice,
I'm a crunchy pregnant mama. Of course I'm drinking raw milk and eating sushi even though they tell me not to.
pseudo-intellectualism, oh no guys, my kid is red and puffy, better ask my buddies what to do instead of a doctor, religious fundamentalism, how do you even get a religious exemption to vaccines? Oh, my fault, I forgot about Ephesians 6:7, that says, Sharon, don't get the jab, the government is trying to poison you. Also, stop eating seed oils, because I didn't say to, or something. And motherhood. And would you look at that, they all go hand in hand. Yeah, so today we're covering the toxic wellness moms of TikTok. These people go by a few names, but the most common one that they call themselves are crunchy moms. I don't really like their name though, because for one, are they crunchy? And for 2, I prefer the name CPS calls speedrunners. Now there isn't exactly a solid definition for crunchy moms, but how they describe themselves are moms who really seek out like the natural or holistic way of doing medicine or raising children. And they tend to be really skeptical of mainstream medical and child-rearing knowledge. And I take a ton of issue with this like mindset in the first place. It sounds good on the surface, but like when you think about it, what the hell does the word natural mean? These people will promote the most nonsensical things and justify it by calling it natural. So this person's trying to seek a natural solution to arthritis pain. And unfortunately for her, she asked the Crunchy Moms group, who instead of recommending her any sort of medication, said to tape ginger slices to her knees. Huh? And this comment had 2 likes too. Who the hell is liking this? Like, did you try it? Or are you just liking it because like, it's repurposing natural food instead of using the evil chemicals, so you just assume it's correct? Like, what do they think about other diseases? My blood sugar's kind of low right now, so I got a candy bar taped to my arm. And you know, my vitamin D is pretty low too, so I got the sun taped to this one. And I'm not saying don't try these methods. If it works, it works. The problem is that crunchy moms have a huge habit of getting their advice alone from these Facebook groups instead of in conjunction with modern medical advice. So yeah, if you can't tell by now, the big thing with these toxic wellness moms is that they'd much rather rely on random esoteric BS rather than actual science, as long as whatever they're doing seems natural to them. We all have our own truth, right guys? Truth and science are completely subjective, and what I read from Facebook is just as valuable as what you read from scholarly studies. Check this out.
Okay, lean forward. Muscle testing works.
I know it does.
Feel free to just...
When in Walmart.
Yes, I'm telling you.
Girl, this is why I got certified in muscle testing. I know it works. All right, feel good about it first. Okay, now there's a...
Yeah, in case it's not clear what she's doing here, she's picking up products and putting them in carts based on whether she instinctively leans towards or away from them. Because, you know, our bodies just intuitively know what's healthy for us. This is the exact reason why Ouija boards work. Like, your unconscious mind expects something to happen, so you kind of make it happen and then pretend that it didn't. And it is massively embarrassing to see someone literally using this principle to dictate their health and what groceries they buy.
This may be controversial, but I can tell what I can and can't eat based off of muscle testing. So show me a yes. See how my fingers stay together? Show me a no. They come apart. Very, very slightly. So memory greens, can I or can I not have memory greens? Yes. I'm actually allergic to peanut butter, so this should show up as a no. Peanut butter? No.
And like what I want to know is like, what if I start leaning towards something unhealthy? Like what if that happens? Wait, I thought seed oils were bad though. Oh, no, they're made with natural seeds though, it's fine. Let me do the muscle test real quick. But yeah, so these moms have a ridiculous aversion to seed oils. They basically claim that like every negative health benefit ever, I meant to say outcome, is a result of these. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to bat for seed oils, like I don't really think they're good either. But I also don't think there's some poison that's gonna like destroy your immune system or endocrine system as soon as it touches you. I just think it's something you have to eat in moderation. And the research supports that. But that doesn't stop crunchy moms from losing sight of the big picture and stressing their kids out. And yeah, there's really no benefit to seed oils or food dyes, but like, you're not gonna die, no pun intended. Just use moderation, man. The main issue is that if you eat too much of them without getting enough omega-3s, this might lead to inflammation. So just don't do that. The bigger issue is probably the refined sugar in the things that seed oils are found most in. But despite that, there are so many posts out there of crunchy moms talking about like how they freak out whenever their kids are offered something with seed oils in it.
How a crunchy mom taught a crunchy teen how to shop. And why don't we buy trail mix, seed oils, put it back. What causes hyperactivity?
Food dyes.
Good girl. Pop quiz time. Why don't we buy this gum?
Aspartame.
And like, dude, if you don't think your kid can handle a Rice Krispie, you must think they're made of paper mache, okay? Like, come on. These dudes basically bounce off the floor. Like, they can handle a chocolate bar taped to their arm. I don't know, maybe they are made of paper mache though, because crunchy moms don't tend to vaccinate their kids, so we'll get into that later though. I know that these moms really come off as like overprotective to a fault, and they're kind of just doing too much of a good thing, but that's not really true either for a lot of them. They're actually insanely selective about what they actually take issue with. It's like they won't feed their kids Red 40 or seed oils in any capacity, but here's a mom drinking raw milk and eating sushi while pregnant. Like, it's one thing to make stupid decisions that put yourself at risk, but it's a whole other thing to bring your kid into this. Like, they don't know about listeria. You're supposed to know about that for them. And I talked a bit about this in my raw meat video, but I find the whole, like, raw food obsession to be stupid as hell. So, like, their argument is that despite the higher risk of sickness, there's more nutrients in it because I guess the heat denatures some of it. Okay? Well then why don't you just eat a f***ing orange if you're worried about vitamin C? But no, they have to get it all from milk for some reason. Like, it just has to be this superfood. Like, yeah, newsflash guys, if you put your vitamin gummies inside of rat poison, it's still a health food and worth the risk of sickness. And I think that's really what bothers me most about crunchy moms. They have this ridiculous and even condescending aversion to so many products, despite there being barely any proof, and despite being kind of hypocrites. But it's just like, look, if something makes you feel bad, then don't eat it or use it. But if there's zero evidence that this is happening on a large scale, then you can't get on these platforms and start judging other moms for using these things if they haven't had the same experience. And I actually kind of doubt that any of these crunchy moms have had any negative experiences with like artificial fragrances or detergents. I think they just saw that it was bad on Facebook and then adopted that mindset. So they describe their journey as like starting out questioning things like preservatives and then ending up with them thinking clouds aren't real. Yeah, that's an actual tolerated belief in this community. So that sort of ideological evolution suggests to me that they didn't actually have problems with these detergents or whatever. They just read that it was bad on Facebook and then adopted that mindset and then started judging other moms for using it. Because, oh, look at all these unnatural moms. Ooh. And building on what I said earlier, natural is the dumbest buzzword ever, and all it really does is just justify whatever you're already doing by like pretending that it's always been the way we've done something. Or look at this mom who claims that homeschooling is natural. Natural to who? And guess what, crunchy mom? I'm crunchier, because I don't even educate my kids. Because schooling itself is a natural. The ancient humans didn't used to do it. I'm really struggling to get my 9-year-old to read. We've been unschooling this year, as other approaches place too much demand on him. Wrong too. When you're learning the homeschool curriculum at the same time as your child. I still haven't found... I still haven't found a rhombus in real life, so still haven't needed the area of a rhombus. Laughing crying emoji. Man, I can't even parody these people. Like, what can I say that isn't more insane than what they already believe? And look, I understand being skeptical of mainstream medical knowledge, especially when it affects your well-being. And I will be the first person to call out the profit motive in healthcare. The entire opioid crisis is a great example of how profit could ruin lives. But at the same time, rejecting all conventional medical knowledge is a complete overcorrection. And they really pick and choose when that sort of skepticism applies. For example, crunchy moms don't tend to take their kids to the doctor because the doctors are evil, who are going to pump you with chemicals, and they have an incentive to keep you sick. While they don't trust the medical system because of the profit motive, for some reason, they put their entire trust into these alternative health brands like essential oil brands, and it's just like, dude, they conform to the profit motive too. Like, the profit motive applies to companies that you like too. It's just so hypocritical, and I feel like sometimes they don't even drink their own Kool-Aid. It's kind of just like an identity for them. Like, oh no, dude, the Wi-Fi is giving us cancer, guys. Better ditch the technology. Oh wait, that would mean I don't get to make content and I don't get to morally grandstand to other moms on social media. Let's just buy this supposed EMF protector that somehow makes it completely safe with the bare minimum effort on my part and does nothing that will make me feel uncomfortable. And look, I'm not saying Wi-Fi causes cancer. I'm saying that their internal logic doesn't even make sense. And while a lot of moms will completely dive into this, I feel like a lot of them are kind of just doing it as a sort of identity rather than something they wholeheartedly believe in. But let's look at a little bit of what they believe in. I hope you haven't noticed right now, but my eyes are a little bit red. Sorry about that. I get seasonal allergies, and they only kick up when I decide to record. Perfectly clear last week, no issues. As soon as a thought enters my mind of recording today. But yeah, so let's see the crunchy solution to allergies. Drink a heavy metal detox smoothie. Sometimes heavy metals accumulate in the head and cause pressure. Okay, let's check out this link. So yeah, how do you get these heavy metals in your body? Why do you get a detox from them? Let's see. Jet fuel in the sky. Okay. Also, I love the Crunchy Mom infighting because this person says that heavy metals can come from low quality herbal supplements. So like, if you buy from the Crunchy competition, then you're probably fucked up and you gotta buy my detox. Like, this is so dumb, bro. Now let's look at some more of their beliefs. So Crunchy Moms tend to be huge proponents of red light therapy, where you essentially shine red light on yourself. And the idea is that red light increases mitochondrial production and some other cell processes, which can lead to some skin and hair benefits. And I checked out a few studies on this, and it actually seems to be relatively true, at least for collagen production in rats and hair growth on humans. So nothing crazy, but it seems to have a benefit. But the problem is, Crunchy Moms will see these couple studies and anecdotes from other moms that could very well be placebo, and then apply it to literally everything way beyond what the research actually suggests. While the studies say it can help hair growth and skin, here's a mom shining red light on her son and rubbing magnesium and castor oil onto his belly. Actually, I'm not showing that, but just take my word for it. And she claims it's to fix his stomach ache. Like, okay, it's not really hurting him, and maybe the placebo helps, but I feel like we're really taking a massive jump from, hey, this study suggests something, to reject all conventional medical knowledge and rely on red light and oil. Don't clip that out of context, please. I really think I'd have much less of an issue with Crunchy Moms if they were promoting these medical treatments as something in conjunction with modern medicine, rather than in opposition to it though. Like, it's one thing to say, yes, I have the plague, and I'm taking antibiotics and doing red light therapy, because I think the extra red light therapy helps. Okay, that's fair. Whether it does or not, that's up to you. But it's another thing to be like, yeah, I have the plague and I'm only doing red light therapy. Oh, and I'm going to school sick and I don't go to the doctor. Also, I only gave my kid 3 vaccines, and the only reason I even gave him those 3 is because of peer pressure from my pediatrician. And no, I'm not even being hyperbolic here.
But yeah, to get to the point, we skipped all of the childhood vaccines. Actually, I take that back. We gave our first baby maybe 3, and then we cut that off really quickly. That was basically due to peer pressure from the pediatrician that we no longer see either.
Like, what? Dude, peer pressuring is when your peers pressure you to do something. A medical professional giving you advice in a professional context that they've been trained in is not peer pressure. I mean, obviously she doesn't consider doctors or their training to really, like, know anything or mean anything. So I guess that argument doesn't really work on her. But in that case, how do you get through to these people? Like, I get being cautious, especially when we're talking about medical treatments for your kid, who may very well be the most important thing in your life. But in the case of vaccines, the evidence overwhelmingly shows that they're responsible for eradicating so many life-threatening diseases to kids over the years that, like, out of everything to question doctors over, I don't think this is the one. And the common argument against vaccines is that they cause, like, side effects or whatever. I've seen basically no proof that this is a common or permanent thing. But with the way they act toward vaccines, you think it's a Milwaukee protocol for rabies, where you're choosing between certain death and likely death. Like, here's a comment describing their vaccine mindset. Tetanus shot is only good if given 3 days prior to injury, so unless you're planning on stepping on rust, avoid that too. It's pretty widely agreed upon that tetanus shots last for about 10 years, and even some sources say they last up to 30. So like, where are you getting this? And even then, I find it hilarious that they like kind of admit that vaccines work, but they just think it only works for 3 days. That's so funny to me. Wow, dude, it's almost as if vaccines are meant to prevent unplanned things. Like, okay, would I like a tetanus shot next visit? Yeah, I'm planning to step on a rusty nail this weekend, so I better be safe. Okay, do I want the polio vaccine? Nah, I couldn't really fit catching polio into my schedule. I love the implication that, like, people are choosing to get sick or step on rusty nails, and they're getting these as, like, preventative measures. Like, I'm genuinely worried for their children, man. But apparently they aren't. I have unschooling acquaintances. Oldest kid is 13 and can't read. I just heard my roommate moving around outside. I feel like they probably think my life is insane when I'm constantly narrating all these things super loudly. And my question is, how are these people affording this lifestyle? I don't know if you all noticed, but these all tend to be stay-at-home moms in these ludicrously large suburban houses or actual homesteads in the middle of nowhere. And they promote this as the proper way to live as a mom. But it's like, dude, not everyone can afford this. Most people don't have a mysterious source of income. Defense contractors. And I feel so bad for pediatricians who gotta deal with these moms too. It's like, man, imagine you're at the end of your shift and a crunchy mom comes in with her son's rifle and Jackson, asking whether the Band-Aids have chemicals. Like, yes, it has chemicals. Everything's made with chemicals. Water's a chemical. And dude, their obsession with chemicals is so grating because they're never ever specific. Like, everything that is made with atoms is a chemical. This post right here says they're not taking their kids to the doctors because they're just gonna pump them full of chemicals. Again, water's a chemical too. anytime you hug your kid, you're giving them a chemical hug. And like, what I want to know, I want to ask these people so bad, at what point of the production process does something go from natural ingredients to chemical? And they could really just be more specific. They could just say man-made chemicals. But like I said, they're never more specific. Like, they never really think that hard about it. And again, this same mom says that there's a toxin-free way of healing anything. What the f*** is a toxin? And yeah, obviously toxin has an actual definition. My point is that, like, they can never name specific toxins and usually use it as an excuse to sell detoxing products. Or fearmonger about random things, like this mom who's in danger of being poisoned from the toxins of her Uber driver's air freshener. They never really define scientifically what a toxin is, or what toxins are in the body. But you know, somehow everything they don't like is a result of it. Like this mom who thinks that autism is a result of toxin buildup. Like, how do you even come to this belief? Where do you find these ideas? Her source, though, she doesn't need a source. In fact, sharing sources is a bad thing. Here's the mom complaining that another subreddit threw statistics at her. What was she sharing that was worth throwing statistics at? But yeah, so back to toxins. One of the most common ideas in this space is the idea of detoxing, which means nothing. It's pseudo-scientific bullshit. Like, dude, we have a liver, okay? And I wouldn't take such an issue with this idea of detoxing if they were ever specific. Again, they're so vague and yet so condescending at the same time. How is that possible? But yeah, so if they said, this man-made chemical is hard for your body to remove and it causes these issues, so you do this to fix it. That's great. Then we can have a conversation about whether that's true or whether that works. But they never do that. It's just, oh, you have evil toxins in your body? We'll take this good substance that's either some random chemical cocktail with some shady business thrown together, or it's a fruit smoothie. And usually these are being sold or promoted by people in the Crunchy Mom community. And actually a huge issue in this community is that anytime anyone asks for like natural health recommendations, a bunch of moms with small Etsy businesses hop in like, yeah, you have stage 4 cancer? Well, you should try my mango cancer-free smoothie. And it definitely doesn't cost $60 a bottle. And again, it's so hypocritical to me. Guys, dude, the medical industry is such a scam. All they want is profit. They want to keep us sick. So instead, what you could do is buy my product, because I don't have a profit motive. I'm definitely not selling this. I'm giving it out for free. I know it's less regulated and something I made on my homestead, but you know, you could trust me for some reason instead of the doctors. Yeah, I will not be leaving my child's health up to that. Despite the problems of the medical industry, I'd rather trust doctors than random moms selling TikTok shop products. And again, I touched on it a bit, but I think their hypocrisy is what annoys me the most. It's like anytime you present a source, they're always just like, oh, well, who funded it? Which, yeah, that's a valid question to ask. It's a bit outside of the scope of this video, but there's a lot of research I don't trust because of who funded it. However, they never ask the same question about themselves. They never question the alternative lifestyle influencers they follow, or the companies who make the liver detoxes and stuff. It's always just like, oh, a small business would never do anything bad, so I'm just gonna trust them instead. It's so hypocritical to me. It's like, come on, I understand having a skeptical mindset, but extend that to everything, you know? But like I was saying, they tend to develop these insanely distrustful belief systems. And unfortunately, this can actually lead to tragedy. So a huge trend of the community is to give birth in what's called a birthing pool. And this tends to be at home with no medical personnel present, which I find ridiculous. And look, I'm not qualified to say whether this is like a better form of birthing or not. I know some hospitals have birthing pools, so I'm sure it's fine. The problem is that they do it at home with no medical personnel present. Because, you know, obviously they did their research and they know better than the midwives who clock in daily and have helped deliver thousands of births. No, they know better because they research on Facebook. It appears they're attacking me because my light just went out. And unfortunately, I've seen dozens of Facebook posts talking about birth complications because I gave birth at home. But one of the worst ones I found is that this mom in her first pregnancy needed a C-section. But for some reason, her second birth, she still decided to do it at home and it resulted in a stillborn. I'm not going to get more into it than that. You can use your imagination on what other complications happened. Like, obviously these people are beyond silly, but it gets to a point where this sort of rhetoric is genuinely dangerous if it's allowed to fester and it isn't questioned. Like, these mom groups are insane echo chambers where there is no standard for evidence ever. And really, they just let some horrible ideas fester. Like, look at this one. I've seen so many negative posts about pregnancy in here that I'm highly considering getting a surrogate. Any thoughts to convince me otherwise? If you can afford a surrogate, any reason you did not and are glad you didn't? Like, do you think other people are commodities? Yeah, guys, I don't really feel like giving birth, so I'm just gonna pay someone less financially fortunate than me and make them suffer instead. Literally just because I feel like it. Now, luckily, the actual comments called her on this one, but I have a feeling that some groups wouldn't have. Every day, rich suburbanites shock me more and more with the type of things that come out of their mouth. And I really feel like posts like that are so emblematic of the whole Crunchy Mom movement. It just comes off as so massively privileged, yet so wrong and condescending. And yeah, I think it is kind of fair to judge someone who's feeding their kid garbage if you know they can afford to do better. But that's just the thing. Tons of people can't do better. Millions of people in the US live in what's known as food deserts, where essentially there really isn't healthy food nearby. Like the Whole Foods is either 30 miles away, or it's just on the other side of the red line neighborhood, but the food is extremely expensive for anyone who isn't a defense contractor living in a McMansion. You can't boil everything down to personal choice. They make it sound like a lot of moms aren't feeding their kids organic because it's like a moral failing on their part. What if they can't afford organic? I eat organic when I can. That shit's expensive, and I don't even have kids to feed. And you know, if you have an issue with the fact that a lot of moms can't feed their kids organic foods or avoid food dyes and refined sugar, then maybe you could take steps towards creating better equality. But no, again, this is all personal choice divorced from material reality. And look, as you can tell by now, I take a lot of issues with this group. I've been very disparaging, but I think the core of what they believe makes sense. Like, their core impulse to live naturally isn't inherently bad. The problem is the direction they take it. Like, yes, you should be living naturally in the sense that you eat healthy and you're active and you're not living like Asmongold. But that doesn't mean you can't have a little treat sometimes. And the way I feel about it is, you're kind of just being a jerk to your kids if your whole personality as a mom revolves around denying them treats. Just because there might be something bad in there in the long term. Like, you're not protecting your kid by stopping them from eating a Pringle every once in a while. You're just denying them a treat and they don't quite understand why. Or you try to make them understand through fear-mongering about things that aren't even proven, which also could be pretty bad for the mental and lead to some bad behaviors. Again, I'm not saying you should be feeding your kids whatever they want. I am saying that I don't think the extreme on either ends makes sense. But luckily, the extreme seems to be the minorities in these types of communities. Again, I'm going through all the worst examples, but even the most, like, devout crunchy moms I've found have some skits that are more self-aware and comedic and actually critical of their more, like, extremist sides. Like, some of them even had posts being like, look, I'm a crunchy mom, but today we had In-N-Out as a treat. And I think that's the best way to go about it. Basically, the mindset is eat healthy and deviate from that as much as you feel comfortable. And maybe I'm biased, but I think this is the best way to go about it. That's at least how I try to live. And something else I noticed in these communities is that while there are a lot of wackos, and a lot of times they don't really get challenged too much, there were just as many, if not more, moms that call themselves moderately crunchy, where they're skeptical of mainstream health knowledge and products, but they actively avoid going full conspiratorial and turning into cloud-denying anti-vaxxers, which personally I think is the correct way to go about it. There are a lot of things that aren't questioned on a large scale that I really take issue with. Soda, for example. Who in the world was sitting around was just like, you know, I really think we should make hummingbird juice, but for humans, and serve them in gigantic cups that people will drink before they go into their office job to sit on their ass for 8 hours. But at the same time, I don't think any of those things are bad in moderation, especially if you otherwise eat healthy and are active. We're not made of paper mache, you don't have to take this zero tolerance approach to it. And look, I'm not going to pretend that there isn't an insane obesity crisis in America, and that a lot of our food isn't absolute garbage that prioritizes taste rather than health. But at the same time, a Twinkie's not gonna kill you. I think it all really boils down to moderation with everything. It's good to be skeptical of mainstream medical knowledge. It's just not good to question things that have saved millions of lives. And you can't just put your blind faith into another group that also has a profit motive, but even less regulated and with even less experts. But that's overall what I think about crunchy moms. It's a pretty good impulse to have and live by, but they just take it to a ridiculous degree and never question it. Just like how you aren't questioning hitting that subscribe button. Later. Who is this 6'7" offensive lineman that clutched up in Clan War? This is LaCronx, and I told him he gets a YouTube shout out if he gets a 3-star. Do you think he'll get more than a 67% 1-star? Leave a comment if you think LaCronx will clutch another Clan War.